Nobody likes J.D. Vance. He is a whiner, a complainer. He lacks principle. He lacks spine. He is just annoying to hear, to see, to be around. And it's not just me saying that. It's not just Democrats saying that. Of course, Republicans have certainly said it. And now J.D. Vance's own family members are going on record to call out what a terrible, horrible human being he is. And of course, that is making J.D. pretty upset, and pretty uncomfortable because his cousin just went on CNN to make public what J.D. Vance's goals really are and who he is, willing to sacrifice to achieve them. It is scary stuff that we are going to get into. But before we do it, I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, let's get into this interview.
Guest and a former U.S. Marine standing up to the vice president over his stance on Ukraine. Nate Vance is a Texas native. He fought on the front lines in Ukraine for nearly 3 years as part of the elite Da Vinci Wolves Battalion, seeing some of the war's bloodiest, most horrific battles all the way from 2022 until just two cousins back in the day vacationing together. Through the years, Nate and JD share grandparents. JD's mother and Nate's father are siblings. And Nate Vance is out front now. Nate, I really appreciate your talking, and I want to get to exactly why you're speaking out, because I know you do so after careful consideration. So, Nate, I know you call yourself a Republican-leaning independent. I know you've been supportive at times of the Trump administration. But on this issue of Ukraine, where you have put so much of your life over these past few years, you think your cousin is misguided. How come?
Excuse me. Well, I think my experience in Ukraine has given me a unique perspective that most Americans don't have. There are certainly cultural differences both between the Ukrainians and Americans and the Russians. And I think if you try to deal with Russia through an American lens, it will come back to bite you. They don't necessarily think like we think. And I'm talking about their political class. I've personally witnessed them shooting their own troops on enough occasions that it wasn't just an isolated incident. It's happened quite a bit, enough to the point where you could consider it to be policy if troops are retreating. So these people, as a policy, will eat their own. So they will not hesitate to eat an American president or American vice president. They don't care what we think. They're not our allies, and they never will be, not at least for a generation.
I know that you've tried to reach out to your cousin since he took office, but haven't been successful. I mean, what were you planning to say to him? I mean, what do you want to say to him now in this moment?
Well, look, I mean, there's more than one reason why you could make the argument for supporting Ukraine. There's the, kind of emotional argument, the human element argument part of it. Which, fine, if that's the argument you want to make in order to support Ukraine, then I support that. There's also the element of how it will affect the United States long term, right? So if you're just more transactional in nature and you are concerned, what is the benefit for the United States? I don't think there's any scenario where like if this war pauses and sanctions are lifted. Russia has spent the last 3 years kind of beefing up their military-industrial complex, and if you lift those sanctions, you're going to see a massive influx of funds into that military-industrial complex, and they're going to build a war machine out of it, right? That's what they're going to do. And the concept of an imperialistic, aggressive, modernized military Russia who has learned their lessons about modern combat is problematic for our future. And if the Russians are given significant concessions in this ceasefire, they will spin that as a victory of sorts. But their view is they're not done. So to them, it's just a chance to regroup, build up and modernize, and they'll come back. And when they do come back, they'll be more of a problem than they are now. Right now, they're at the weakest they will ever be. As soon as the ceasefire starts, they will immediately start to get stronger and continue to get stronger every day thereafter. So the way this ends is important.
In that context, obviously, I think I'm thinking of the moment when your cousin, Vice President Vance, publicly reprimanded Ukraine's president, right? It's an unforgettable moment in the Oval Office when your cousin's sitting on the couch and Zelenskyy is next to Trump sitting in those chairs. Let me just play it.
I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
J.D. Vance was seen as widely seen as the instigator, in that moment, right? When he got it, you should show appreciation, and he was angry.
Yeah.
You obviously have known him his whole life. Did it surprise you, the way he acted in that moment?
I was surprised. I think what surprised me the most was, regardless of the situation, there's a certain level of decorum that should be reached. And, I'm not naive enough to think that, national leaders don't debate behind closed doors. But when you do that and you publicly, kind of ridicule someone in public, that they have to almost defend themselves. So it was really disappointing to see it for me. I disagreed with that tact.
Now,
there's a much more diplomatic way to say, wait, I think we're getting off on the wrong foot here. Maybe we can kind of, readdress what our positions are and things like that. There's much better ways to handle that.
I know, Nate, that you and Vice President Vance have not spoken about this issue, right, since you've come back. But I know you've reached out to him. I'm curious. You did share some photos of the two of you growing up at his grandmother's house. He's in the Superman shirt there on the tractor. Then JD spent time with your family in California. And, so these are all the times you spent together. What was he like then? And how do you feel now that, I guess, I don't know how to put it, he's not returning your call on this issue that you know so much about?
Well, I can't, in all fairness to JD, say that he received that message and then ignored it. I can't do that because I don't know that he got it. But I did reach out. But regardless of whether or not I reached out or not, I mean, he definitely knew I was there and at no point tried to make contact, and there were ways to do that. So when, if a wise person, if they're going to make a decision, tries to find every available piece of information to kind of come to a conclusion about something, and this is such a dramatic issue, or such a serious issue that, why not seek out every piece of information? He certainly doesn't have to take my advice, but I do find it a little strange that he never sought the advice in the first place.
Although it is incredibly clear that Donald Trump looks up to and loves Vladimir Putin, that he's very easily swayed by strong men, that he wants to feel some level of respect for them. He knows how weak he is, so he wants their praise, their admiration, which of course is just a lie, because Donald Trump is of course a weak man who deserves no respect from anyone. But the JD of it all is very interesting. The reason why he is so quick to sell out Zelenskyy. And of course it's to reach his ultimate goal of continuing to rise the ranks of MAGA. He wants to be president one day, but it's also clear it's because he's happy to abandon anyone at any time. It is a reflection of the complete lack of principle that we see from J.D. Vance, the exact thing that makes him unable to lead, because there's no value that he stands on. There is no principle that grounds him, and something that we've been talking about for a while now. It's been pretty easy to observe since he flipped on his anti-Trumpism to try to elevate his political career. And elevating himself alongside Donald Trump is what MAGA is all about. It's the reason, like I said, we've made these predictions about them, like Kayleigh Harris did, knowing what Donald Trump would do with our foreign policy just last year.
The reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelenskyy a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
It is almost like this is the I told you so presidency from Donald Trump. It is almost like Kamala Harris warned not just the whole country, but specifically MAGA voters, what would happen to them. It is almost like we have been talking about this for so long on this channel, that it would be MAGA who would hear the news of Medicaid going away and maybe realize that the $800 billion cut is going to hit them first. Then MAGA would be seeing rising grocery prices higher, gas prices, rent go up, and realize that Donald Trump had lied to them. Hopefully, that they'd see that the guy who promised he would be against wars is now actually trying to start them with Canada, Greenland, Mexico, while giving up on our ally in Ukraine. You would hope that they would be able to learn from them. And if they don't, well, then we just have to drive the point home even more, which is exactly what Chris Murphy was doing right here.
Donald Trump is signing up for one single project, and that is the transition of American democracy to a kind of kleptocratic oligarchy in which the billionaires rule, in which they get to steal from regular Americans. And if that's the domestic project, then the way that you normalize that kind of government is to associate yourself with similar governments abroad, like the Kremlin. So it's all part of one big domestic project. The foreign policy, the affection for dictatorships abroad is, in effect, a means towards transitioning our democracy to something very, very different, something we've never, ever seen before in this country.
It's not just that Donald Trump loves Putin. Chris Murphy makes the point here. He wants to be like him. He wants to build a government that is for billionaires. He wants to build the oligarchy, much like that of which exists Russia. That is the ultimate plan. He wants to surround himself with the richest and most powerful people in the country and in the world. And he wants to concentrate their power with hemp. Largely what tariffs are about. If Donald Trump can unilaterally decide what businesses are influenced on his whim, then he has business leaders in his pocket, but he is also hurting Americans' pockets by doing so. And it's the reason J. Vance got this response at a recent speech.
Massive increase in immigration and a massive increase in housing prices. And we have to be honest about that. Well, I see one of our nice representatives out here wants to actually, I guess, continue to flood the country with illegal immigrants, making your community.
We started with someone who despises J.D. Vance. It only felt fitting to end with one as well. And of course, it's not just that video J.D. getting booed. That's someone who despises him. You got one person right here who's going to be calling out J.D. Vance. Of course, we are on the show every single day, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.